Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is RemovableSanity and today I'm reviewing Remoteness on the Series X, developed and published by KR Games. So what is Remoteness? Remoteness is a first-person survival game set in a semi-open world. The premise is that you are Jake, who lives in New York, and the year is 2034. You wake up after what seemed to be a terrible nightmare, only to find that your district has been evacuated and you are isolated overnight by the army after an electric meteor shower has hit the Earth. You have to escape any way possible. Now, the game boasts 2 open world hubs to explore, a dynamic night-day cycle, electricity as a weapon and as a resource. First up is accessibility. With regards to accessibility, there is only one option to help you play the game and enjoy it to its fullest. The biggest is the ability to play on mouse and keyboard or controller, which both allow button remapping. There is also prompts during the game if you fail too many times to drop the difficulty, so should you have a visual or hand mobility issues, this game would not be for you. Next up, gameplay. The gameplay starts with you as Jake, who wakes up to find out that the world has gone to hell. The government has cornered off huge blocks of New York and evacuated the residents. However, some survivors still exist alongside a corrupt military force who are out to kill you. Not being outdone, there's also now aliens who, like the abandoned military, are intent on killing the last few survivors. So, with a crossbow and his trusty robot companion, Hannah, he ventures out of his apartment in an attempt to survive and leave the area he's found himself trapped in. Throughout this game, you'll need to fight all who stand in your way in a bid to search the city for 4 beacons before aligning them to a huge satellite in the sky, which in turn will disable a massive meteorite in the middle of the park and stop the aliens from attacking. Now, when you start the game, you do only get the briefest of explanations in what does what and where you should go, with the main focus about you figuring it all out. Now, I can't tell if I missed the brief, but it took me way too long to realise the blue dots were actually the areas I needed to go to. Now, this may seem simple: travel to said location, kill things, hack the beacon with a quick time minigame, and move to the next. This is where the developers have placed in a feature to stop you from rushing through said world in a bid to get to the end as quick as possible. You have an asthma gauge that slowly depletes over time, and should it hit 0, that's game over. Think of it as a hunger mechanic in which you need to acquire syringes in a bid to stay alive. You can only carry 3 of these, and they can be found at vendors in the subways dotted around the main hub areas. To purchase said item, however, is a link to another of the game's unique mechanic. Set around the world's open hub areas are crashed meteorites that give off electricity, and going close to one of these you can fill up a meter. Why is this important? Well, electricity is needed to power your robot, provide electric bolts for your crossbow, and sell to vendors for, you guessed it, syringes. Micromanaging this is essential, as you don't want to jump into any potential fight only to realise you're about to die due to no syringes. The enemy AI is also slightly dynamic, as aliens can be lured into human zones in a bid to let them fight each other to the end. However, this is risky when it comes to human players, as they are good at taking you out pretty quickly. Cover is needed to get the lay of the land and pop off individual persons with a well-timed shot. They are not the smartest AI, and you do have the option to throw rocks to lure them, though I never used this, as it was easier to pop one and lure the other to my location. You're not alone in fighting either, as your robot companion can also be switched from surveillance mode, good for spotting aliens, and fight mode. When this is switched on, your robot will target your enemy and thankfully will keep them occupied till it takes them down. The downside to this is your robot only has a limited amount of ammo, which you should need to refill using the electricity meter at a recharge station found at certain underground subways. There is a small selection of weapons which can be found in the game as you progress. However, the shooting of your weapon itself is a bit sticky with its sensitivity. No matter what setting I did, I really had a rough time getting the right amount of give when aiming. And tip for you, change your fire button to left trigger instead of the original bumper setting. Now the guns themselves also have very little feedback on whether you are the one shooting or being shot at. Only the blood splatter will give an indication if you are hitting the enemy, and as far as I can tell, the guns have no recoil, so there's no sense of impact there either. Speaking of shooting, I would recommend you save your electricity bolts for the monsters in the subway, as using guns on this enemy type is like firing into a sponge. The game does have side quests and can vary from something really easy like dropping off a tape to something harder like destroying fireworks. One of the very easiest was the very first side quest, consisting of finding a magnum pistol which is on the opposite side of a wall at your very starting point, literally outside your base. To help you find these maid and side quests is the smallest map stroke compass I have ever seen in a long while. It only shows a small portion of the area and a vague direction of where the main side quests are, which are shown in a blue or white dots, and important landmarks such as your apartment or subway stations. I guess the intent behind this was to ensure you learnt the hubs by exploring instead of relying on the map, and use it for more pinpointing, which is exactly what I did for most of the game. Now the shooting aspect you can soon learn to get used to and work around. However, one area though is unfortunately game breaking. Littered around the hubs are areas you will need to get to by parkouring across small ledges and jumping to equally small planks in a bid to get to locations to hack the beacons. The reason this is an issue is that the jump mechanic lacks all precision and is very clunky, which combined with the run button will probably be the cause for most of your frustration. The clash detection seems to be huge here, and 9 times out of 10, when you think you have landed in the correct spot, it is wrong and you've actually hit the edge and fallen to your death. Most areas are pretty reasonable to manage and will just take a bit of time lining up before you run and jump. However, there is one area near your apartment that is so brutal in terms of platforming, I actually gave up after about 30 attempts. And as this was one of the quests I needed to do to complete the game, it effectively stopped me from doing so. Next is graphics. The game's environmental visuals are really well done, and the general atmosphere of the game is great. The weather changes the ability for the enemy to see or detect you is a nice touch, and the lighting is well done, if it can be a little too much in your face when the game hits the tunnel areas. The two hub areas are vastly different to each other and are connected by the railway tunnels underneath. These areas are, however, pretty bland and copy-paste sections, which I became to loathe the more time I had to switch backwards and forwards between zones. A quick travel option would have been ideal here. What does stand out though is Chinatown, the second hub, and is superb in capturing that angst of a lot of side alleys that may house your next doom. That's not to say the main hub isn't bad, but it pales in comparison of Chinatown, and a game set here alone could have easily been great. There are only 4 types of enemies, and whilst they vary somewhat, they're nothing major to write about. There are pop-ins, and draw distance keys can be a little temperamental, but overall the visuals are good enough. And finally, sound. The sound design wins out by far, with different scores for each hub. Ambient sounds where required, distant gunshots and government announcements really bringing the world together. Whilst there is a voice work within some of the sparse NPC characters you may find, the majority is from your trusty robot Hannah, who has a few repeating lines that get old quickly. The gun sounds are powerful, and the alien menacing with beastie snarls and roars do wonders to keep you on your toes. Environmental sounds are top notch here as well, and the rain almost becoming unbearably loud, drowning out enemy noises when it really downpours is a great touch. In certain areas, remixes of enemy encounter themes can be heard, such as near a cathedral where you'll hear organ notes and choir voices playing in the background. And this leads me on to the rating of the game. Now I rate games in order of avoid, on sale, great purchase and must own. My rating for Remoteness is on sale. The game is fun once you've worked out what you need to do and what everything does. I enjoyed combing the back streets, avoiding enemies and taking out goons, but it was the platforming aspect that does let the game down. This is due to that horrendous clash detection and a struggle to get pinpoint accuracy when you need to traverse some of these elements, which in the end, if you are like me, may not even be able to finish the game. The game is currently priced on Xbox at £19.99 or approximately $25, and depending on your skill and patience would give you about 8+ hours worth of gameplay if you can finish it. However, with multiple quest lines and hidden weapons, you could allow for another 3+ hours. There is a strong foundation of a really good game here, but some serious clunky mechanics have let this down. Overall, this is a game that needs some more updates to really polish this off and allow you to really enjoy what is here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I do hope you like this review, and if you do, please like, share and subscribe if you so wish. And if you would like to put some notes or even just a comment in the comment section, I do like reading them. Anyway, have a great time gaming, and I'll see you all again soon.